We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Hey, welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. We're going to start in a few minutes, but I want to tell you to hit up our social sites, retweet, share, comment, like, do all of that stuff. It can only help us out and it'll make the show even better. But we're getting ready to give you a lot of good Ole Miss information, and I just thought I would tell you that because the POMcast is starting. Well, it's starting right now. Wait, no, that's a little early. It is starting right about now. Good morning. Welcome to the POMcast. I'm your host, Stephen Willis. We have a big show today. Today we're going to talk about the defense and kind of dig into them a little bit. And we're also going to talk in the second segment about conference realignment and some unexpected changes that are percolating down the pike. So stay tuned for that. But before we get started, I do want to tell you about Travel and Cruise World. That's 1-800-330-7461. 1-800-330-7461. What I wanted to do was basically have a resource for you down here in Central Florida. Everybody wants to go to Disney, Universal, the beaches, all of that stuff that's right here in the Central Florida corridor. Well, they can provide a man on the ground or female on the ground, whichever you choose, to direct you along your way, make sure it's an enjoyable experience, because each business has different mask mandates or vaccine mandates or whatever is going on down here. These guys can help you out, and the best part is they can get you the same price that's on the website. The parks actually pay the travel agency. Give them a call, 1-800-330-7461, travelandcruiseworld.com. See Central Florida like a local. Also, I want to tell you about bookatailgate.com. Take it to the Grove, tailgating and events. They do a wonderful job of getting you ready to tailgate in the Grove. You can get a single tent. You can have your equipment stored there. You can rent equipment. You want a TV on the tent? No problem. You want your catering picked up? They can do that as well. They can even add a second tent to make it a plus size tent if your crowd size is larger than you expected. So that's www.bookatailgate.com. Sign up for single game against Tulane this weekend, or just do the rest of the season. They can do them both. Plenty of flexibility, and they can do a lot. That's 662-701. 1177, bookatailgate.com. Also, I want to tell you about La Terrain. They're the official watch of Positively Ole Miss. Basically, go into the store, buy a watch. Very nice, luxurious stuff. Sign up, and when you check out, the promo code, put in POMcast. You'll get a nice rate, and you can tell them that you got it from here, and I really appreciate that. So that's La Terrain Watches, promo code POMcast, POMcast. So I'm pretty excited about that. So before we get started, I want to tell everybody, if you want to watch the show, you can catch it at The Stephen Willis or at Ole Positively on Twitter, Facebook.com/POMcast on Facebook, Positively Ole Miss on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell. You'll not only know that we're streaming, you'll know what we're streaming about. And of course, we're on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss, all one word, all lowercase. Audio-wise, you can catch us at Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Pandora, Amazon Music, and Audible. So that's going to be available for you. So 3.5 minutes to get through that. That's awesome. So today's show, I want to talk a little bit about this game is going to be a litmus test for the defense. We thought Louisville would, but the element of surprise kind of got them a little bit in that game. I do not buy into the fact that just because you won the game, the team is bad. We don't know if the team is bad, and you can't have the take that the team is bad. So Ole Miss's performance against Louisville, it's still a good performance and still worth doing it, because there's no evidence to the point of it being Louisville being a horrible team. Now, we're getting a little bit of a data point on Miami. Miami got run by Alabama and then went up to Appalachian State and almost lost the game. So that's a little bit of a bullet point for them. But nobody talks about how Alabama did what they did against Miami because Miami's bad. No, they did what they did because Alabama's Alabama. And we need to get out of the habit of talking down the wins, belittling the wins. No matter what, there's people without any facts, any idea what's going on, saying the Louisville win is okay. It's terrible because the team is bad. Well, you don't know if the team is bad. That team could go 8-4. A team could go 9-3. Have you seen the ACC? So, just a little pet peeve I have. I have a problem with people that break down games and do what they're doing and go grievance on every one of their breakdowns. That's the central part of their breakdown. It's not what you did to win. It's what they did to lose. And you have to be careful about that. That's a red flag warning sign that the person doesn't really know what they're talking about and they're just trying to fill time talking on the air. So, I want to talk about the defense, this game being a litmus test. And it will, because Tulane offensively, they put 35 points on Oklahoma and Norman. That's a bullet point that we have. It doesn't matter what the circumstances in that game. Tulane put 35 points on Oklahoma and Norman and was by far the best looking team in Louisiana that day. And you watch the game, they got plaudits not just because of the score. People watched that game because of what was happening. The second half, I get that Oklahoma was up big in the second quarter, but Tulane started chipping away, and was about a half a yard from getting the first down that if they'd have gotten it, they'd have probably gone down and scored because Oklahoma was done at that point. So that is worth keeping an eye on of what's going on with Tulane, with Oklahoma. So this game is going to be a litmus test. This is a talented offense. Their offensive coordinator is Chip Long. You might know that name because he started with Mike Norvell at Memphis. He then went to Notre Dame for a few years, and now he's at Tulane. So the offense that they're running at Notre Dame was basically put in by Chip Long. So this one is going to do that. This is probably going to be a more spread offense, and you're going to see more stuff out of the shotgun. Now, it is also important to remember that Willie Fritz, just one second. Willie Fritz is a former Georgia Southern coach and a run game guy. And whenever you deal with that, you end up with, I need to change the duration of this real quick. Sorry about that. Okay. When you deal with that, there's going to be ways to scheme it up. It's like Rich Rod against Alabama. Now, we've run 2 years in a row for over 300 yards against Alabama. I think we've gone back-to-back years over 300 yards rushing on LSU. So people can scheme run plays just like they can pass plays. People assume that everything happens with a pass play. But on a run game, you can win the numbers battle as well. And you can hear Lane Kiffin talking about it. He talked about it in the Pro Football Focus spiel the other day. You're running against a 5-man box because they're worried about those wide receivers. That's a good thing. Now, people need to realize that this offense will never be predicated on lining it up, the other team knowing exactly what you're going to do and then trying to get the first down and getting it anyway. This team will never be predicated on that. This team will be predicated on doing what you're not defending. If you're playing a bunch of drop 8, deep coverage with 3 down linemen, they're going to run the football. This is a run team anyway. They like it. That misnomer of this being a pass team is such a benefit to these guys. Because you can line up against a 5-man box with those running backs and just take off. Just run. And you end up with 300-something yards on Austin Peay, and it didn't really look that much. I think the leading rusher had like 45 yards in that game. But there's 4 rushers that are averaging over 40 yards a game at Ole Miss right now. They're like second or third in the SEC in rushing. It's crazy. They're averaging close to 600 yards a game at this point. I think 565 or something like that. Florida's doing really well offensively, and some other stuff is going on. I think Auburn is above that. But now we're at the point where the season gets real. The season absolutely gets real with the Tulane game. And understanding that will help you understand the defense. Now, Jake Springer will be back this week. Some of the injured players will be back. Orlando Amana on offense will be back. We had some problems on the O-line. Well, Orlando Amana was not in there. Bryce Ramsey was starting. If it was an SEC game, Ben Brown would have probably moved over, and Bryce Ramsey or whoever would have played right. But since it was Austin Peay, Bryce Ramsey played the role as backup center. The snaps were true. Everything was fine. Ole Miss won the game. They actually covered in that game. So there's really nothing negative to take from that game. Now, there's a couple of deep passes and a couple of pass interferences and penalties that you can look back on. Do we need to clean it up? Absolutely. Absolutely. But people that would say things like after the Austin Peay game, and everybody's heard this, oh, you wouldn't have beaten Alabama playing like that. Well, we weren't playing Alabama. It's a different game. You can't really use transitive property. We're playing Austin Peay. We did enough to beat them by 37 points. And in the meantime, set Matt Corral up to be about second in the Heisman according to all the sports books. That's another thing to remember as well. Matt Corral is moving up the list. Also, Tulane is, I don't know if they're trolling the SEC, but there's an SEC sticker with their 3 conference championships that they're wearing Saturday, which they won those championships, absolutely wear it. But I think Tulane thinks they're playing Mississippi State, and they're going to walk on the field that day and see that we have 6 SEC titles up there, and they're going to feel crazy because I think they think they're in Mississippi State to where they have more SEC titles than Mississippi State. I think that's legit. I think this is a troll fail because nobody cares that Tulane has 3 SEC titles at Ole Miss because you have 6. Now, the last one might have been 1963, but that's still way before 1939 or whatever their last one was. So, kind of interesting. I do like Tulane. Genuinely do. And I think the RAG should be played for every year. That should be like the Ole Miss and Mississippi State game. The RAG should absolutely come back and be played for every year. Now, LSU has been dominant. Tulane's been down. And you're kind of getting up on even footing at the moment. Tulane would absolutely beat LSU this year. I'm certain of that at this point. Now, they might not in a month, but right now, they could absolutely beat them. But I'm looking forward to that game. And the reason I'm looking forward to that game is the secondary. And I realize the secondary is over half of the defense. It's 6 players out of 11. But Jacob Springer coming back for this game. I want to see, like I said, Springer on one side, Otis Reese on the other, playing a de facto outside linebacker stuff. You can do some 3-4 stuff with those guys on the outside. They're box players to begin with. I want to see Tysheem Johnson flash. He's making tackles and he's doing very mundane things, but he's a super athlete. I want to see him flash. And when I say that, I mean get a pick, force a fumble, do something like that. And I think that's going to come, but this is the chance before Alabama. I don't want that Alabama game, the stage to be too big for him. And which is obviously a possibility. Tywan Malone got a sack against Austin Peay. I want to see him play a little bit in week 3. I want to see him get some reps. I want to see him not necessarily get a sack in week 3. I want to see him do something disruptive and just kind of go to the forefront. It's like, hey, there's Tywan right there. So that is what I'm looking at. We are going to take a short break, I think, in just a second, as soon as this is up. And take a short break, and when we come back, we will talk a little bit about the Bill Flowers show. I'm very, very fired up about. There's people that get in the weeds and love to talk football, and there's what we did for 30 minutes with Bill Flowers last night. It's called Talking Ball with Bill Flowers. It's going to air Thursdays at 6, and we're going to talk a little bit about his experience when his playing days was happening, plus what he's seeing here and how he thinks things can affect the defense, right? It's really good because he just oozes football knowledge talking about it. It's a very good interview. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll hit that, and we'll talk about conference realignment. Until then, stick around. Right. Welcome back to the POMcast. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, and we're having a lot of fun here on this, I think it's Wednesday. My mom visited. She came in Saturday. She was here Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and this morning I took her to the airport and dropped her off. She's flying back to Vicksburg, and I hope she had a good time while she was down here. But this has kind of messed up my days and things that are going on. So this week's been a difficult one. I'm a very routine-based person. But I do want to tell you about the show, Talking Ball with Bill Flowers, that'll air Thursdays at 6. And this is somebody that likes to get in the weeds. I enjoy talking football. I could sit, when I had an office in the Manning Center talking football, I could hear it happening. Down the hall, just talking football. And you just want to go jump in that conversation. Like there was a 7-day thing in 2006, 2007 with Monty Kiffin up on the whiteboard breaking down film and defenses with Coach Orgeron and all that. I had to video it all. I enjoyed it like you wouldn't believe. Just sitting there talking about defenses and what they're doing and how we can stunt and how defenders can be freed up and all this. Monty Kiffin was just a defensive genius. And I just loved every second of that. So I've been trying to find somebody to relate that to you so you can have that fun, because there's other people that like getting in that weeds like me. And Bill Flowers fills that role. Him talking about the defense and how we can unstabilize the defense and what they're doing and what we can do. He does a fantastic job. But that's Thursdays at 6 p.m. It's Talking Ball with Bill Flowers. Thank you very much, Stacy. Always enjoy you watching. And also, if you talk to Jake, tell him I said hey. And I'm just really excited. Now, what I want to talk is the little known rung of conference expansion. Now, everybody with conference expansion, they're probably quitting paying attention about right now. You have Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC, and then you have BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF going to Big 12, and they're like, okay, all right, it's done. We're good. We can move on about our business. But there's a story developing right now. On the American Conference, they need to expand. They absolutely need to expand because they lost 3 teams plus UConn. So that's 4 teams in short order that the American lost. So they need to replace them. And in doing so, the Sun Belt has seen a target on their back that they think they're going to come get Coastal. They think they're going to come get Louisiana, which they might. I think Louisiana's an absolute target. I think Louisiana Tech's a target as well. But the Sun Belt is making inroads and trying to make them to grab a Louisiana Tech, grab a Southern Mississippi. Potentially go into, I heard on Twitter this morning, going into the Southland and kind of lifting up some guys, which the Sun Belt has done before with Georgia State, Appy State. Those guys have found homes coming up from FCS into FBS, and they're quite relevant. Coastal is a school that did that as well. And they're making moves to protect their conference by creating a nice, neat little pod in the, I would say, for lack of a better term, the Sun Belt, but in that Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi corridor that people can count on, that it would be beneficial for somebody like Louisiana. Louisiana would have La Tech, Louisiana Monroe, and Southern Miss every year. Good teams, decent rivalries. But if you build up to the level where you expect to build up, it could work. On the other side, you have the Appy States, the Coastals, and all that, the Georgia States. Maybe they go get somebody like Marshall. Yeah, or UAB. Stacy Blackwood said they should be Coastal Louisiana, Southern Miss, and maybe UAB. That would probably be the look in the American. But if the Sun Belt was trying to protect Coastal and Louisiana, which I think they should absolutely try to protect those at all costs, because Louisiana's got something special going on in the Sun Belt right now, and those guys need to be protected. And that's another one. The Southern Miss might go up to the American. They could drop. I'm not going to say drop, because the Sun Belt is the conference with the teams that are ranked. Go over to the Sun Belt. Maybe go get Louisiana Tech. Maybe put a feeler out there to UAB in their brilliant, beautiful new stadium. And then you just fill the Deep South with all these teams. That is going to be fantastic. Now, why is this important? Well, in the age of one-time transfers, you essentially have a minor league system with the lower conferences, with the G5 conferences. If the American survives, they'll move up to be the AAA of major college football, and the Sun Belt is competing with Conference USA for that rung right below it. So the American and Sun Belt picking apart Conference USA, which very well could happen. I mean, Marshall's got to go somewhere. I think Marshall might end up in the American, potentially. I think UAB has a nice home potentially in the American. And like I said, I like Louisiana Tech is going to be in demand right now. USM has options, even though they're in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and there's not any media markets. They have options. And because they have these options, now all of a sudden you can think about what you want to be. You're not just worried about survival anymore, because in previous incarnations of conference realignment has been very bad for Southern Mississippi. They grew up and started in the Conference USA and played in the Conference USA title game in 2011, I believe. Won the league. A league that had Houston, all the American teams, and it was big. Before that, they had the TCUs and the Louisvilles and Boston Colleges and things like that. So realignment has picked those teams and just made Conference USA into a, I don't want to say small potato, but they definitely set them up for failure. And the Sun Belt sees that. As the Conference USA is coming down, Sun Belt has been in ascendancy in a large part because of Louisiana and Coastal. Appy State doesn't hurt either. And they know who they are. That's the reason they're trying to poach a couple of these Conference USA teams and get their share to keep Louisiana and Coastal, but also going to get high-performing FCS teams from the Southland or maybe the WAC. It's so weird that the FCS, the WAC, goes into Texas now. It's beyond. There's a WAC team in Illinois. It's ridiculous. But go get Sam Houston. Go get them. Go get those. And you just make this ecosystem where they live. Now, if Louisiana gets an offer from the American, are they going to go? Yeah. Yeah. If Coastal gets an offer from the American, are they going to go? Yeah, absolutely. But at least this way, you set it up to where there's a choice of what's going on. And at least this way, you have an opportunity to save your own conference, because the Sun Belt is in the ascendancy at the moment. The Sun Belt is really where you want them to be. They're never going to be. They're never going to be a power conference. They would never be a Power 5. But they know who they are, and they are perfectly content to do it. Yes, Sam Houston, Stacy Blackwell puts that Sam Houston would thrive in a lower level FBS conference like USA or something. Yeah, absolutely. Stephen F. Austin, a big rivalry. It's like the longest running rivalry in Texas. I think you should go get both of them. Go get both of them. Go get Southern Miss. Go get Louisiana Tech and the Sun Belt. They're ready to dance. They're ready to party. You already have Troy. They're doing a lot of good things right now. I think they'll be in every major state. I mean, Tennessee Tech, I don't know if they want to do anything, but they're available as well if you want to get into the Tennessee for the Sun Belt. So it's pretty interesting. And I'm very interested in this part of conference realignment. The Oklahoma and Texas stuff, that was great. That was fantastic. We covered it on the show. We did all kinds of good things. And then the reaction to that, good for the Big 12 for finding 4 teams to stabilize what they're doing. They have a chance to thrive. Now, Central Florida will eventually need a dance partner down there. They're kind of isolated like West Virginia is now. West Virginia now has Cincinnati. So there's kind of a proximity thing where you can drive to road games. But West Virginia, where they were, it was a day drive to get to any road game out there. You probably need to go up 4 more. I think USF is going to go that direction. I think they're going to go after Boise. I think they're going to go after Colorado State, and they might go after one of the MAC schools, or just to make dance partners and to separate them into different regions. That's what I foresee for the American. But I love what the Sun Belt is doing right now. Now, I do want to thank everybody for watching. Also, Ole Miss uniform archives, you can see it down at the bottom of the screen. Ole Miss wore red 1 time out of the last 4 meetings. They wore blue 3 times. So I think, honestly, I'm expecting red this weekend, honestly. But it should be a lot of fun. But thank you very much for tuning in. We're going to give you a couple of minutes back. It's been a lot of fun with everything going on. I want everybody to tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll talk a little Ole Miss football. Maybe concentrate a little bit more on the offensive side of the ball. Absolutely. I think Fresno might get a look for an American, but that time zone could be different. I think Boise is more likely from that group, and Colorado State's a slam dunk at this point. So that might be the pecking order for this conference, just because of where it sits. Maybe they might get a look from the American, and the other ones might do the Big 12, but that would just blow up the Mountain West. That would be pretty interesting. But anyway, tune in as this moves on a little bit further. We'll talk about the offense tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, and of course, have a good day and toddy toddy.